On the short-term rental, all I wanted to say was, or ask, if everything is okay with everything the way it is, or does anyone think that we need to make some changes, look at that ordinance, and if that is the case, then all I would ask is that the stakeholders, all the people, especially Tierra, is involved in this process of a discussion. They have been looking at a lot of different ordinances with short-term rentals in different places. They are open for discussion. They do have ideas. But I guess the question is, are we in agree, or does everybody agree we need to go back and revisit it? Or we do not, everything's fine the way it is, we have noise ordinances in place, do we need to look at it? And if we do, then we can start that process, but it needs to be done with the input of the stakeholders.
Bill?
I would first go to staff and see what their comments are. They deal with this all the time. I mean, I guess I've kept up with the short-term rental situation in Savannah just by reading the papers. You got the Airbnb, and of course, Savannah is so totally different. They're trying to get short-term rentals out south of Forsyth Park and totally residential neighborhoods, which we've been doing for years, so that's okay.
You're saying we should get the staff to tell us if there's something that needs to be.
Yeah, I would get the staff to tell us. I mean, there's some things about it, ours, that still just blow my mind, like the fact that the property owner doesn't have to get a business permit when they rent their property. That's just one of the things that's always amazed me, that we.
When did that?
Well, no,
No, the
if
property
they,
gets
Diane,
property
go ahead.
manager.
well, if they use the way we've handled it in the past, if they use a property manager, then they go under the property manager's
Right.
business license. But if they do it individually for themselves, they have to get a business license.
Which is the way it should be.
I'm just saying that.
I think it's hard to find the individuals doing
Yeah.
their own residence, and that's really how all this got started. I mean, an individual who just rents their house once a year isn't subject to this.
Right.
And, a lot of people have family go stay in their house when they're not there, and it gets very difficult to track people who are actually, it's their house and whether they want to do this or not. So until they hold it out for rental to the public at large, it's difficult for staff to catch up with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I shouldn't have.
So
thrown
you
that
think
out.
they
We
ought
were
to
deciding
have
that,
rental? I mean,
But
all of
I
them?
would just say, I go back and said, I'd let the staff look at it. I don't deal with those people directly all the time. Paul, sorry.
Yeah, I may be beating a dead horse here, but I've said numerous times over the last few years that I would like to require every unit to pay the $135 business license fee, because there's a lot of staff time, there's a lot of enforcement time involved with dealing with these things. Having somebody like Keith or Amy or whoever it is, pay $135 to cover 200 properties is a detriment to the city and to the residents everywhere. And I think also that we do need to review the ordinance. Something I've suggested for years is also defined in one of the ordinances that we got from elsewhere, that is, occupancy is based on the number of bedrooms plus 2, and parking is based on what's normally required for that type unit in that zone, plus 1 for every additional bedroom that is occupied by a renter. I think that's the way this. Well, when they apply for the business license, they submit to an inspection. There is an affidavit that they have to sign that says the city marshal or whoever can look at the property to make sure that it is in compliance with what they are alleging on their application, that it does have this number of bedrooms, the occupancy will be this, and here are the parking spaces.
But, okay, so you have a vacation rental home and they have a party that night and they invite friends who are staying.
If they're not spending the night, that's okay.
Okay. Monty?
Why did we allow a group like Amy to only hold 1 business license and have several rentals?
Several.
Why did we, several. Why did we forego the business license fee?
We didn't, it's always been that way, I mean,
But
I don't
why
think,
couldn't we couldn't we say that every unit has to pay the business?
It's up to the council. I mean, this is what was
Council.
tradition, that's
I
what we
can't answer that
inherited.
question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, my preference would be to start doing it.
And what
to-
would be
to
the
re-
rationale, is just that more money?
Revenue for the city to cover the enforcement and
Accountability.
the degradation of the neighborhoods, the wear and tear on the infrastructure, the water sewer, the parking, the roads.
But there
Also, that would be a way to keep track of who's renting properties. We don't,
And where the hotel motel taxes.
we have no idea where that,
there's other ways to do that than charging $135 though.
Well,
they're not
I'm not
Charge
sure you
$135.
can.
Bob was saying he doesn't know if we can even do that.
It seems like once before I had to go
See,
into all that.
my- It seems that the problem is not generally the vacation rental companies on Tybee that seem to do a pretty good job. It's the guy who owns a house in Michigan who rents out his house and could care
By the
less.
internet,
Yeah.
Right.
And-
That's the problem.
And what I've talked to
Yeah.
Tierra and those group about is we should craft an ordinance that would push people like that to vacation rental homes, so there's somebody on the island who can deal with the problems, instead of you make a phone call to a guy in Michigan who's asleep, or, you know what I mean? There's
And
just
shoveling
no,
snow.
I think several of these ordinances, if not all the ones we looked at from other places, part of the application or the business license required that they have a contact person who could be there within 2 hours
Mhm.
of notification of a problem. And I think that's something we definitely need to have. on board.
That would solve that problem, but then you're gonna, I mean, it's a tough issue, cause you're gonna piss off, you're gonna anger a lot of people. But I'm not opposed to going that way, cause again, I think the problem is those absentee renters, basically.
Well, I agree. And-
Yeah.
When it comes to mind, ordinances I'd like to work on, short-term rentals doesn't come to the top. I mean, lighting.
Why don't we do what Bill suggests for the time being, and have staff look at it, have Bruce look at it, and if there's issues, then we need to know about it, and Diane can tell us.
So
about it.
which version of the ordinance do you want us to look at, the one that was in the packet?
The current version.
The current
Our
one that we have.
existing ordinance.
I like
Really
the one
don't
that's in
have
the-
an ordinance for short-term rental.
Yeah, I like the one in the
We have
packet.
nothing.
If you want some guidance, that would be my advice.
No,
The one that's in the
we
packet is
have
better than
what's
what we got.
Bob, we got-
There is
Was that the
a
one?
combination of the occupation tax and
Yeah.
what defines a business is what's
That's all we have.
currently all we have. Now, we've had 3 or 4 versions of short-term rental ordinances that take it to the next step. I mean, but, it's such as what was just talked about with the absentee owner, requiring somebody to have a local representative. The problem with that is the internet. And we don't know, I mean, that person would never apply, and yet he's renting the house. So enforcement will continually be a problem. I don't care what you do with the order.
Well, couldn't we look at what we have, and I know there's not a specific ordinance on the books, but just tell the person who's enforcing and say, hey, what can we do? And here's one thought, but what else could we do that could help you do your job?
So,
and
it really falls very often to finance, because what happens, in the city marshal, if there's an issue, finance is always chasing people who aren't paying the hotel motel tax, so there's a lot of work involved in that.
Okay.
And the other one is the city marshal and the police department. But really, to be honest, a lot of we had that time when we had events, weddings at people's houses, that was when it was the worst, as far as that's concerned. I think that the short-term rental businesses, for the most part, have actually improved a great deal than it was when we hit the wall of, having full-fledged events at people's houses. And when y'all changed the ordinance, said that you couldn't have it at a short-term rental, and if you had a residential bed and breakfast, you had to have a site plan and approval, that really helped that, because I think that was what was really bothering
Okay.
the residents the most. But
Chantel has waited patiently. Paul, go ahead.
Remember when we were talking about, this is just for fun, when we were talking about pulling the plug on the weddings and
the bride showed
vacation
up.
rentals, and the bride and her mother came just running down the aisle in
Yeah.
tears.
And that night at my house was a big party for my brother's wedding. I don't know if you remember that. That I missed. That same night, I'll never forget that.
Okay, Diane, so you're
Chantel.
gonna talk to staff
Yes, I
and,
will.
okay.